We're back, with Week 0 being a wrap, with games such as Farmageddon in Ireland and Stanford's first game with Andrew Luck as GM. The season has started. However, there are only 5 matchups featuring an FBS team and only one that featured a ranked matchup, so the season still hasn't actually started. Next week, though, is a completely different story. With most teams kicking off the season this week and several top 25 matchups, such as Texas vs. Ohio State or Miami vs. Notre Dame, it features much better games than the previous week. However, as a Georgia fan, I'm going to predict the game for the Dogs, who played last year's Sun Belt champions and the Marshall Thundering Herd. This game is significant for several reasons, including a good look at quarterback Gunnar Stockton, as well as seeing some players of the future if the game is lopsided. It also shows us if the running back room is as good as it appears. Before we begin, like and subscribe to help this channel out. Thanks. Marshall is in an interesting position heading into this game. Yes, they did win a conference championship last year, but head coach Charles Huff could not agree on a contract extension, and he left for Hattiesburg to coach at Southern Miss. With his exit, a whopping 50 of his players hit the portal, many of them following their head coach. It was so bad that they could not play in their bowl game against Army and had to opt out. Eventually, they got 56 players from the portal, but their roster would look a lot different. Former NC State defensive coordinator Tony Gibson was hired to replace Huff and get the roster back up to what it was. It currently features mostly transfers at positions such as quarterback, wide receiver, and middle linebacker. Going into their first game against the Dogs, the point spread is 39.5, and their projected win total for the season is 5 wins. This is 6 points higher than the spread for App State, Michigan in 2007, so they would have to play really well to make it close. Enough said, you came here to see how the Dogs would do. Here are my thoughts about them. The 2025 Georgia Bulldogs also are interesting, but for different reasons. While they did get some transfers, such as the Branch brothers, their whole roster isn't built off of them. What makes them interesting is a good look at the improvements Gunnar Stockton has hopefully made over the course of the offseason. After Carson Beck suffered an injury just before halftime in the SEC Championship, Stockton took over and led them to an overtime victory. He also played in the Sugar Bowl for his first career start, but the Dogs lost and ended their season. Stockton looked very inexperienced in the Sugar Bowl and at times during the SEC Championship, so we'll see if he made any improvements. Going to the rest of this team, we'll see how the new transfers do, as well as how the defense replaces several key players such as Jalen Walker and Malachi Starks. Much of the rest of this team, though, is the same, so it won't look as different as Marshall. The one room that is very different is wide receiver. After the group led the country in drops this past year, we got several receivers in the portal, such as Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch, as well as some recruits at that spot, such as Talon Taylor. Assuming the game is a blowout, we should see many backups get reps, such as Bo Walker, Elijah Griffin, and CJ Wiley. Both teams will inevitably be very rusty as it is the first game of the year. It's a good look at both Georgia with a somewhat revamped receiver room and Marshall after their transfer fiasco. The Dogs overall are much more talented and also have much more depth than the Thundering Herd. It could be fairly close at some points, but Georgia has the firepower to overwhelm them easily. My final prediction is that Georgia will be up around 31-7 at halftime, bench Stockton after the end of the third quarter, and give Ryan Puglisi his first reps at QB. I'm still taking the under as the starters will likely get pulled out and the backups will get inserted in. My final score is 52-14 Georgia. See you guys next time.